Good morning, everyone. Welcome to those who are just joining. I'm Avi, Head of Partnerships here at SmartSuite. And that means primarily I'm working with partners, whether that be affiliate partners who are putting out videos and blogs about SmartSuite, or service partners, which is a new program we're revamping now, where these are partners that are trained on SmartSuite. They're getting SmartSuite certifications, and we're going to have them have the ability to engage with clients and help them implement. And so as part of that, I'm here today to give a product demo. This product demo is meant to be more of a getting started with SmartSuite. So we're not going to get too advanced, although for those of you who do know SmartSuite, you can get super advanced. We're going to try to stick to the basics and just showcase how you can get started as easily as possible. We're going to try to cover as many topics as possible. I'm also going to try to get to questions towards the end. As we're going, please feel free to drop your in the chat, and I will try to review them and get to all of them towards the end of this webinar. I will be limiting the amount of questions during this webinar so we can stay focused and get through everything. That being said, I want to just dive right in, share screen, and we can talk about a little bit the idea of SmartSuite's positioning on the marketplace, as well as the premise of SmartSuite and the solutions it delivers. And for those of you who logged into SmartSuite and started trials or have been using the product, this will probably seem familiar. This is the SmartSuite homepage. Now, the positioning of SmartSuite in the marketplace and the reason why SmartSuite is bringing this product to market is for the following idea in terms of market analysis. And so when you look at the different products that are currently existing on the market, you have great no-code databases that do a great job at storing information, relational database. There may be certain limitations, but they're doing a great job with that. The limitation with those products is task management or project management. Then you have tools that are great at project or task management, but they have limitations around the ideas of database or a relational database, no-code relational database. Then you have CRMs that are great at managing the CRM function, but again, more challenging when you try running task or project management in there, as well as database. And so that's where SmartSuite's coming into the market. We're positioned as a work management platform. And so as we go through the webinar today of getting started, I'm going to try to showcase a little bit how you can manage all three aspects that we just mentioned above, where you can have a relational database in SmartSuite, you can have task or project management, and you can have a CRM. And the benefit of having them all on one platform, besides the cost savings of only having one platform and only having one platform to learn and onboard your employees, is the idea that you can link and correlate and run reports on all aspects of your business in one spot and see that full picture without seeing it fragmented in different systems. And this is the SmartSuite homepage. On the left, that's where you'll always go to look for different resources. As you can tell, we have the upcoming webinars, templates, contact support. You can get our mobile app, Android and iOS. You can reach our website, their academy, the certification and partner marketplace will be coming up here soon. You can always see the upcoming webinars, and so on. Up top over here, there's a few things to mention, and these are items, the top ribbon will stay with you throughout your journey within the platform. And so even if I go into a particular solution, you'll still see this top ribbon. And so these are important items to note. This will always take you back to the homepage. Right over here, you have your power search. And so you can search for anything within SmartSuite. You can limit your search to a specific solution or specific area in SmartSuite, or you can just search across the entire platform. You can search for anything, or you can search for a record file or member. And so this is a very powerful search bar that will search across the entire workspace if you're trying to find an item and you're not sure where exactly you put that item. Up top over here is obviously your logo. It can be customized. SmartSuite has a member directory, which will show you all your employees or members within your workspace. Each one has a profile that they can fill out, and they can have skills. You can search or filter by skills, certifications, and so on. And so that's an easy way to manage your members, specifically in an enterprise or larger environment. You have your start items. So as you go through SmartSuite, you can mark items as starred, which means they're almost like bookmarks. So you can come back to them easily. You can reach them from here. So you can start a solution, an app, a view, and so on. Then you have your My Work section, which rolls up all of your to-do items from across the entire platform. This is per user. And so I will only see items that are assigned to me and are waiting for my action. And then I can dive right into those items and take care of whatever they are. I can also add new tasks for myself or someone else in my org, add a due date, a priority, and so on. And so this is part of the project management aspects that SmartSuite's adding in, is that if you're assigned to something, we roll that up into the My Work section. So you always have your one spot to go to, and you know everything you have to do. You can obviously group it by priority or status. You can group it by different things, etc. And the last item I'm going to show up top on this ribbon is the notification center. So in SmartSuite, you'll get notifications for things like being tagged. You'll get notifications for items being assigned to you, changes made to a record that you're following. And so those will all show up in the notification setting. And then obviously over here, you'll find all your settings. If you're an admin, you can invite other people to the workspace and so on. And so without further ado, we're going to dive in to explain the actual idea of the platform and how you can use it, how you can get started. And so this is what we consider your workspace. This entire area is your workspace. If you're in multiple workspaces, you'd be able to toggle between workspaces. Within your workspace, you have each one of these tiles is what we call solutions. You can change the display format and display them like that or like this. But the idea is each one of these is a solution. A solution is an area to manage a key process in your business. So think about CRM, project management, HR, general task management, accounting, right? So key processes within your organization would be managed in a particular solution. Now, solutions that a particular member uses often, you can simply add the star and you'll have them up top over here. So you don't have to always try to go find them over here. You can also search for solutions here. And if it's not something you use commonly, you can unstar this. The starring is per member. And so this won't affect the overall workspace. The overall workspace is this. And then things that you use commonly, you can just basically pin to the top. Once you go into a particular solution, we'll just open up a random solution to show an example. Within a solution, which is managing a key process, like we just said, we have what we call apps. Apps are going to be components of that process. And so if you take an example of a CRM, you'd have, let's find a CRM in here. So I'm going to search for CRM, and we have sales CRM right here. Within CRM, which is a key process in your organization, you'll have accounts or companies, you'll have contacts, opportunities, you can have your sales resources. And so these are key components of the core process. That's how we would define apps, right? And so apps are basically tables of information, and each app can have its own set of custom fields. And then you have records per app, and you can add up to, depending on your plan type, 50,000 to 250,000 records per solution, right? And so across these different apps, etc. And so the idea is that, say, for example, we have a CRM over here. And so you basically add one contact per record, right? And you can continue adding many more contacts. You can add contacts over here like this, or you can just simply add them from down here. And then each of these, since these are contacts, we're going to build out properties that would simulate a contact. And so we have the name, contact type, activity status. And so this is where we get into custom field types. And so SmartSuite has, above all industry standards, or above any other platform, we have over 40 different field types, as you can tell. And so this allows you to really narrow down on the type of data you want to be collecting per record, whether that be a CRM or a project management tool, or you want to run a inventory management, or whatever that is. You can build out your SKUs, you can build out your sizes, you can build out, right? And so we enable you to do any of that. And so this is, obviously, we're a no-code platform, so we have to enable you to do as much as you want to do, and to be as flexible as you want to do, but with ease and efficiency. And so you can see over here fields like a text or a text area, which is a bit of a larger area for text. Smart Docs, which has rich formatting. You have a date field, a multiple select. So multiple selects, you can build out options in here, or you can pull in predefined options of commonly used. So for example, let's say I want to track what country a particular person is. I can pull in this list of countries, and then I can import this list. You can also include a description for each one of these choices. You can include a value, which can be referenced in formulas for those of you who are using formulas. And this is just one example of a field type that can be used in SmartSuite. I'm not going to elaborate too much on these field types, but just know that they're very detailed. And when you have a moment, just go ahead and take a look and just go through all of them, get familiar with your options, and you'll see we have signatures, sub items, and so on. And so as you're getting started in SmartSuite, what you want to think about first is, what's my first key process that I want to start managing and tracking in SmartSuite and collaborating with my team members or external people in SmartSuite? And then within that key process, what are my other components? And so let's take, for example, and let's just walk, this webinar is a getting started with SmartSuite. And so how about we just get started with SmartSuite? And so we're going to pretend this is a brand new workspace and it's completely empty. And we're going to start building out a brand new process. And so you come over here and you add a new solution. Now, when you come to add a new solution, you'll see the option of starting with a template or starting from scratch. So the templates is, we have over 250 templates in here that are best-in-class templates for core processes. And so you can definitely search for a particular type of template. Or if you're someone who likes to start from scratch, or you just don't want to start with a template, you can definitely start from scratch. For our purposes, I'm going to start from scratch just to show you what you can do. Just know that with templates, they come preloaded with sample data, which you can delete as soon as you're done customizing the template and ready to load your own personal data. So we're going to create from scratch. And so that's going to create a brand new solution. I'm going to call it Avi's Demo CRM. So this is how you name your solution. And so now I have a name for my solution, and it comes by default with one app and a few of these fields. And so we're going to go ahead and just right out of the gate start customizing it. We're going to leave the title. This is a commenting section. We're going to leave the assign. We're going to change the assign to actually field name to account manager. And by default, we're going to say this is going to be the record creator. So whoever enters the record by default is going to be the account manager. And then we're going to display it in the My Work section. So this is how we know if it's a to-do item or not, is if you link it to a status, it gets displayed in the My Work section that we showed before. And if not, it doesn't. We're going to require an entry because we don't want accounts sitting here without an assigned account manager. And we're going to update the field. And so once this field is updated, we're going to move into priority. In priority, we have urgent, high, normal, low. That seems fine. We're going to change this to a full pill, just so that it looks nicer. So that's a theme you'll see throughout SmartSuite, is you get to control your display formats. You have a lot of control over how things look. Statuses. So first of all, we're going to start, the default status is going to be backlog, and then in process. So we're going to change this to working, received, interested, won, and lost. I'm going to change this to red. I'll change this to blue. And so as you can see over here, I'm just using these as an example, but you can see how easy it is to start customizing in SmartSuite. Due date. We're going to change this to date 1. Okay. Now we're going to change this to, say, accounts, because we're going to track accounts. And then we're going to add another app here that's going to say contacts. And in contacts, we're going to want to start tracking. I'm going to delete the assign to field because we're going to assign them to companies. I'm going to delete the priority field. I'm going to delete the status field. I have to delete the due date before the status because they're linked one to another. And so what we're going to do over here is we're going to do as follows. We're going to add a full name. We'll enable titles. Mr. and Mrs. should be enough for now. And so we're going to add the contact's full name. That's going to be step number 1. Step number 2 is we're going to want to add the contact's email address. So email address, we're going to allow for multiple email addresses. Step 3, we're going to want a phone number. And I'm going to change this to cell number. And we're going to allow for a single because we don't want more than multiple numbers. We can add the number again. And we can add for other phone numbers. And so what I'm simply doing over here is I'm using the different custom fields to build out my CRM. And so I'm using the phone number field type for here and the email field type for here. Now, let's watch carefully what I'm about to do. So I want to now start correlating between my contacts and my accounts. Otherwise, I'm just going to have a list of accounts and a list of contacts, but I'm not going to remember how they're correlated. And so what I'm simply going to do is I'm just going to move this Zoom thing out of the way. It just popped in. Okay. So what I'm supposed to do is I'm going to add what we call a linked record field type. And this is where the power of a database in SmartSuite starts coming in, is I can say over here, I'm going to call this accounts. I'm going to change the display to the expanded display format, and we're going to link it. It's already linking to the accounts. Now, note that within SmartSuite, you can link not only within the same solution, you can link across the entire workspace, which in my case, I'm not going to do, but technically, if I had my accounts in a different solution, I can link to them as well. We're going to allow linking to multiple records. We're not, because one contact should belong to one account. And then we're going to add the fields that we want to display over here. And so we're going to want to see the open comments. We're going to want to see the status first, account manager, and we'll add a description all the way at the end. Filters, we're going to add only status will allow anyone, but technically you can build out filter. Let's say only allowed to link to a specific record if we're talking about a specific, if the record is in a specific status or a specific account manager or so on. So we're going to add this. And now what this does is when I add over here, so let's go back to accounts and we'll just add a record over here, right? So we'll call this Apple. And I'm the account manager by default because I was the one who entered this record. Obviously, I can change this and add someone else to be the account manager, but by default, I'm the account manager. Let's select this as high priority and let's change the status to working. Now, as I'm working on this account, I can also leave comments, had a great convo, and I can simply add this comment and I can respond to this comment. Someone else can see these comments. I can also tag team members. I could say, Tara, I'm going to need your help here. And if I send this to Tara, she'll get a notification. If I assign it to her, it will show up on her to-do items, right? And so you can add descriptions and so on. Now, we're going to save this. And so now we have one account, for example. Now we're going to go into context and let's start logging the context. And so we're going to add a contact over here. And so I forgot actually to set up the title field type. The title field type can be manual input, and then you can require entries to be unique or require an entry to the field. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this title since I already have the full name field type and we're tracking contacts over here. I'm going to switch this to be a auto-generated field type. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate the full name and I'm going to generate the account. And this will automatically, as I add information to the record, it will automatically generate the title of the record. I use this because it's a great way to summarize information at the title without having to look at the rest of the record. And as you can tell over here, since the record is auto-generated, it's locked. I cannot make any changes. This will auto-generate. And so what I could do is I can fill out the full name. So I can choose a title, Mr. John G. I can add an email, 124@gmail.com. I can add phone numbers, and you can tell I have the country selector and so on. I can add my cell number. And it won't let me add invalid numbers. Like I have to keep to a valid phone number. That's the value of using SmartSuite. I'm going to delete the phone numbers for now. And then here's the key piece is I get now to select my accounts. And so I get to select my accounts and I can also see this other information about the accounts. I can see there's one open comment. The data is not filled out. I can see the status. I can see the account manager and so on. And so now I can add that. Now, say the account didn't exist. I could also come in here. If I remove this account, I can come in here and I can create a brand new account right from here. So I can add now an account for Google and I can set a different priority, save that. And now Google is going to be the account that I have. And now if I delete that and I go back in here, you'll see there's two accounts. Same concept over here is if I go back to accounts, you'll see now I have both accounts and I can also set who the contact is from this side. So every time you link a record, they're linked in a dual direction. And so I can now link to here. Note that once I link to contacts, the title gets summarized, Mr. John G. with Google, right? And so that is a basic idea of how I build out a CRM. And so now I can go into a different space and build out a project management and start linking to my CRM accounts, or I can create another list for opportunities. I can start linking accounts to deals and so on. And so that's just a basic overview of how to kind of get started. Now, once you have information loaded in, and obviously you can import data if you have that data existing in other places, this is where you start getting into the view types. And so as you can tell over here, up top, I can control the items that I'm going to see. So I may have 20 different field types, right? 20 different pieces of information that I'm tracking on my contact level, but I don't want to see them all in this grid view. We call this a grid view, right? It almost looks like a spreadsheet, it's just a little fancier. And so I can control over here. So for example, I can remove accounts. And so it's there in the background. If I open the record, I'll see it, but it won't show up over here. And if I decided I do want to add description, I can add description right there. I can also go back and add accounts. I can also play around with the order. I can move accounts, and then I can have my status come right after that. Where's my status? I don't have a status on accounts. I can have my email come right after accounts, right? Or you can simply drag and drop right here. You can also change how large or small this is. Again, this is your contacts. If you click on this, you'll reach right into the contacts. You can sort by any of the field types and sort by accounts, for example, A to Z or Z to A, if you would have more than one contact. So I'll just do this in accounts. I can sort by title, A to Z or Z to A. I can sort by even status. So I can say status, A to Z or Z to A, first, last to first. You can also filter. And so I can say when status is any of received, display it, and that will filter out the other items. And you can build out filters on top of filters. And so you can basically, although the information will be there in the background, you simply won't see it in this particular view type. You can group information. So I can group it by title. I can group it by account manager, right? So this will set up a group per account manager. And if I added another account that had a different account manager, I would see them in a different group. You can set up spotlights, which will color specific areas based on information. You can also share a grid view. This is a more advanced feature, but it allows you to collaborate with external people via a link. You can embed it, and they don't have access to SmartSuite, but they see whatever is shared on this list dynamically. It's almost like a dynamic spreadsheet. And so these are all settings that will control the view type. And so now I can go ahead and I can set up another grid view that will have a completely different set of information, right? I can set up different filters, different whatever, and I can toggle now between these views. And so again, the information is all existing under the Accounts app, but I have different dashboards or different views to see the information that's in here. And I can control the fields I want to display, the sortings, the groupings, the filter per view. Now, note over here that we have multiple different view types. And so I don't have to look at it like a grid. I can look at it like a card view. And so if you take a look over here, now I have a card view, and I can again add the fields I want to display. So I can add status, and now I have cards, and I can group the cards by status. And so that will set up groups like this. Again, I can change the order, and I can dive into the cards and I'll see the full information. Some people like our Kanban view, right? So I can set up a Kanban view. And that right now it's by account manager. I can change it to status. I can change the fields to display and add account manager and status. And over here, because it's displaying it by status, if I move Apple into interested, it will actually change the status of interested. So this is an easier way to move around information. And again, if I changed it instead of status to account manager, I will be able to move things, and it automatically assigns to Nate as I move it along. And so when you have a chance, I would recommend, again, coming in here, take a look at the different view status, different view types, and this will enable you to look through your information or your data in here in different view types. A key piece I want to show is forms, and we'll end with this. Forms allows you to collect information from external people. And so you can set up an embed view or a public link. You can add the fields that you're collecting. So let's say you want to collect all your contacts or all your accounts, and you want people filling out forms on your website, and it should create a record automatically. Simply, you set up such a form that has all the fields that you want people to fill out. You can set fields to be required so they can't submit the form without that. And every time they fill out the form, a record gets created in this app and goes into the appropriate view and so forth. We're gonna take a pause here and open up the floor to some questions. I noticed there are some questions that came in, and I'm happy to answer any other questions. And just before I go to questions, I just want to mention, obviously, SmartSuite is a tremendously advanced platform. We have not had a chance to cover even a third of the platform, and it's just the way it is. We have plenty more videos and demos on YouTube that can be a lot more detailed. And just to show you a few things, like you can change the page settings, you can move fields around, you can set up different sections on the fields, you can set up formulas as a field type that will calculate certain things. We have automations, which you can set up when a form is submitted, send a thank you email to someone, or like literally I could set up that when a form is submitted, I can add a calendar event to my calendar and send a thank you email and so on. And so we have a lot of these built-in automations. We also have the whole component of integrations. We have our API, we have Zapier, and we have Make that are all live. Permissions is another area. So SmartSuite has very granular permissions all the way down to the field type level. So I can have a field level permission. So I can have a record that my employees won't see certain fields or certain records, or my clients, for example, right? SmartSuite is a tremendously advanced platform. At the same time, you can get a tremendous amount of value even by simply starting to use the basics and then expanding and going from there. And so I'm going to pull up the questions right here, and we're going to try to see if we can answer some of the questions. I'm going to stop sharing. And so, folks, if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. And let's take a look what we have here. Okay. I see a question coming in. How would you handle something with a fork in the road? I've had a point in my workflow where there are a decision, and a decision A or B have different instructions from there. Okay. There's a few ways to handle that. Let me just share a screen, and so we can touch on that. Okay, I would say there's a few ways to handle a fork, right? That's a great question. I think that automations is probably a great way to handle that. I guess it depends really on the exact example, but you can have different checklists, for example. So just show one way I can handle a fork in the road. Let's say I have accounts that if it's closed won, then I need to follow a series of steps. And if it's closed lost, I need to follow a different series of steps. And so I can have two checklist fields, right? And I can add this field and say, this is a checklist 1. And I can have another checklist field type that says checklist lost. And now I can have an automation, and I can set up an automation that says, when record matches a condition, status is equal to 1, update records. So make an update to that particular record. And we're going to do checklist 1. We're going to set up a template, send contract, add a due date from trigger, let's say date 1. The due date for this will be 3 days after date 1. The assignee will be not a particular person, but members from trigger, the account manager, right? You can add many more checklist items. And this says that when the contract is won, I'll just show you how simple this is, right? So if the contract is won, then it will simply add to-do items to the checklist 1. Or actually, I don't even have to have 2 different checklist items. I can just add 2 sets of automations. One will add this type of checklist, one will add that type of checklist, but I'll just show for a second. I'm going to change this from lost to 1. And what that will do is it will add a checklist item in here if we just give it a few moments. And there we go. We just added a checklist item, send contract. It's assigned to me. This is the power of automations, that it can handle forks. And so you can say, if status is 1, take it, add the following checklist, send contract, get payment, and so on. If status is lost, you can go ahead and simply add checklists that say, close out the account, send thank you email, and so on. And hopefully that makes sense. Happy to expand on it more, and happy to, if I misunderstood or you have a different use case, I'm happy to expand on that as well. Okay, do we have any other questions coming in from the crowd? Is there any other particular topics you'd like me to cover before we go about our days? So Richard is asking, I'm trying to use formula fields to add 60 days to a date. And so, Richard, it happens to be that I'm not a huge formula junkie. If you chat with us in the support, our onboarding team will definitely be happy to assist you with formulas. Since you asked about it, I'm just going to simply show forms just for a moment here. Formulas just for a moment here, so everyone can understand at least the area that you're asking. Formulas will be a calculation field type. So we have the simple one, but then you can go into advanced editor and you can use date 1, and you can use any of these operators and fields or functions and fields to create all sorts of advanced formulas that will manipulate the data. And then you can use this in automations and so on. Again, I'm not a huge formula person. I don't want to lead you down the wrong path. Sorry, Richard. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, sounds good. Thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully you learned a thing or two from this webinar. If you have any other questions, feel free to chat with us in the intercom, take a look at our academy, take a look at our certification, take a look at our YouTube channel, or just search YouTube for SmartSuite. You'll see hundreds and hundreds of videos that cover different topics and areas of SmartSuite. I bet you'll learn a thing or two if you take a look, and let us know on social media what you're building, what workflows and solutions you're building with SmartSuite, what problems SmartSuite solving for your business. We'd love to stay in touch and hear what you're building and solving. Thank you everyone for joining once again, and have a wonderful day.